Area 51 never slept. Even at night, sensors watched the sky. Cameras watched the desert. Underground systems watched each other. That night was different. At exactly 2:17 a.m., every external radar went silent. No warning, no error code, no explosion. Just silence. Inside the control room, technicians froze as screens turned black one by one. Power was still running. Backup systems were active, but nothing responded. "This isn't a blackout," one technician whispered. "It's like something told the systems to stop talking." Security teams moved instantly. Doors sealed. Armed units took position along the underground corridors. Then something impossible happened. A door on level 7 unlocked itself. Level 7 did not unlock. Not manually. Not remotely. Not ever. Only 3 people in the world knew what was behind it. Colonel Hayes stood slowly. His face had lost all color. "No one goes near that door," he ordered. "That level is not a weapon storage." The technician looked at him. "Sir." The door opened from the inside. Silence filled the room. Level 7 cameras came back online for exactly 2 seconds. That was enough. Something moved across the frame. Not fast. Not slow. Wrong. Like it didn't fully belong in the camera's reality. The feed cut again. Colonel Hayes turned to the analyst beside him. "Pull the old files," he said. "All of them." The analyst hesitated. "You mean Project Watcher?" Hayes nodded once. Project Watcher was older than Area 51 itself. Older than the Cold War. Older than satellites. Older than the idea of aliens as enemies. The file opened automatically. No password required. That should not have happened. The first page was simple. Project Watcher status, active. The analyst scrolled. Watcher was not a ship, not a body, not a weapon. It was labeled as an observer. Discovered decades ago during a deep space anomaly, it had not attacked. It had not communicated. It had watched every nuclear test, every space launch, every major war. One sentence stood out. "The subject is not hostile. The subject is patient." The analyst reached the last update. It was time-stamped 3 minutes ago. The update contained only 4 words. "IT is no longer waiting." Before anyone could speak, gravity shifted slightly. Not enough to throw objects. Enough to feel. Every person in the room felt pressure behind their eyes, like a thought that was in theirs. Then the emergency lights turned red. Not because of danger, because of protocol. A protocol that had never been activated before. Human limit containment. Active. Colonel Hayes whispered, "No." That protocol was theoretical. The voice came next. Not through speakers, not through radios. Inside their minds. Neutro? Ancient. "You built this place to hide us," the voice said. "You were wrong." Security teams reported movement underground. But no alarms triggered. No doors were forced. Whatever was moving didn't need to break rules. The analyst finally understood. Area 51 was never a prison. It was a boundary. And something had just crossed it. Colonel Hayes looked at the desert cameras as they came back online. Nothing outside. The desert was quiet. Too quiet. Then the analyst spoke the question no one wanted to hear. "If it's been watching us all this time," he said slowly, "what exactly was it waiting for?" The voice answered, "For you to be ready." And somewhere deep beneath Area 51, something older than fear took its first step forward. Colonel Hayes had buried many files in his career, but none like this. Project Watcher was not just classified. It was removed from systems, from memory, from conversation. Even its name was forbidden outside a handful of rooms like this one. And now, the file had opened itself. The analyst scrolled slowly. Each page felt heavier than the last. Project Watcher was discovered during a deep space anomaly in the 1950s. A signal that did not repeat. A shadow that bent light. A presence that did not respond to probes. The object had not moved toward Earth. Earth had moved toward it. That was the first mistake. When it was finally contained beneath what would become Area 51, there was no resistance. No damage. No attack. The report used one word repeatedly. Cooperative. That had made everyone nervous. It allowed itself to be contained, the analyst said quietly. That alone should have stopped the project. Hayes nodded. But we were afraid of what would happen if we didn't. The file revealed decades of observation logs. The Watcher never slept, never powered down, never reacted emotionally. It observed human conflicts, human science, human mistakes. Every war was logged. Every extinction-level threat was studied. The Watcher reacted only once. During the Cold War, when global nuclear launch probability reached 98%, containment fields strengthened automatically, not to protect itself, to protect Earth. That entry had been flagged and then buried. A scientist in the room swallowed. So it wasn't watching for aliens, she said. It was watching for us. The analyst reached the final sections of the file. Purpose assessment. The Watcher was not assigned to monitor Earth. Earth was classified as a variable risk world. Humans were the anomaly. Unstable environment. Extreme adaptability. Rapid technological growth. High self-destructive potential. The Watcher's role was clear. Observe. Measure. Intervene only if necessary. Hayes felt cold. Intervene how? He asked. The file answered. Prevent premature extinction. Silence filled the room. The Watcher was not here to judge humans. It was here to keep them alive long enough to become something. The analyst scrolled to a sealed subsection. It unlocked instantly. No authorization required. That should not have happened. Project Watcher Containment Justification Area 51 was never meant to imprison the Watcher. It was meant to limit human exposure to it. Direct contact caused effects. Increased creativity. Altered perception. Rapid conceptual breakthroughs. And psychological stress. Humans were not meant to see beyond certain limits too early. The Watcher did not harm anyone. Humans harmed themselves trying to understand it. That's why they buried this, a scientist whispered. We weren't containing it, we were containing us. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. Not shut down. Dimmed, as if something was adjusting the room gently. The voice returned, calm, measured, closer than before. You hid the truth to protect yourselves, it said. That was reasonable. Everyone froze. Hayes stood his ground. Why now? He asked. Why speak now? There was a pause. A real one. Because observation has reached conclusion, the voice replied. The analyst's heart raced. Conclusion of what? He asked. The answer came slowly. You no longer require isolation. Alarms began to trigger across the base, not emergency alarms, but notification alerts. Systems reconnecting. Sensors recalibrating. Data unlocking. The Watcher was not escaping. It was removing limits. A final file entry appeared on the screen. Timestamped now. Project Watcher's status update: humanity has reached threshold. Hayes felt a deep fear, not of invasion, not of destruction, but of change. If we reached the threshold, he said carefully, what happens next? The Watcher answered. You will no longer be watched alone. The desert cameras outside Area 51 flickered. For a moment, just once, something vast moved in the sky far above the clouds. Then it was gone. The file closed itself. But the truth was already open. Project Watcher was never a secret weapon. It was a guardian. And it had just decided humans were ready to stand without it. The first movement was not detected by radar. It was detected by silence. Across Area 51, external sensors stopped reporting for half a second. Not long enough to trigger alarms. Long enough to feel wrong. Colonel Hayes stared at the sky feed. Replay that, he said. The technician obeyed. Nothing appeared. No object, no heat signature, no distortion. Yet every instrument agreed on one thing. Something had passed overhead. High altitude. Extreme speed. No sound. That wasn't an aircraft, the technician said. Hayes didn't answer. Deep underground, the Watcher remained silent. No voice, no pressure in the mind. But its presence was stronger now, closer, like a thought waiting to be finished. Then, the satellites began to react. Military satellites shifted orientation on their own. Not hijacked. Not malfunctioning. They moved as if responding to something they were designed to notice but never had before. A warning appeared on the global monitoring network. Unidentified mass movement, non-orbital. That's impossible, a scientist said. Mass doesn't move like that. Hayes felt a cold realization. Unless it's not moving through space, he said. Unless space is moving around it. The desert outside Area 51 remained quiet. Too quiet. Then, a civilian airport 300 miles away reported a strange event. All aircraft instruments briefly reset. Pilots reported a pressure change without turbulence. Passengers described the same feeling. Like being watched. The report was buried within minutes. But the pattern spread. Ships at sea, remote observatories, deep space telescopes, all experienced the same thing. A pause, a pressure. Then normal function returned. The analyst spoke carefully. This matches the Watcher's original anomaly signature, he said. But scaled. Outward. The implications settled slowly. Something had responded. The Watcher had not moved first. The Watcher had not moved first. The Watcher had not moved first. Something else had. Inside Level 7, containment fields powered down further, not fully, but enough to allow greater interaction. The voice returned. Calm/certain. They have noticed the change. Hayes clenched his jaw. Who? He asked. The Watcher did not answer immediately. That delay mattered. Finally, it spoke. Observers do not exist alone. The room felt smaller. The Watcher continued. Your world was classified as isolated. That classification has expired. A technician looked up in fear. You mean, they know we're here now? The Watcher corrected gently. They know you are ready. Before anyone could ask what that meant, the sky above Area 51 changed. Not visually, gravitationally, instruments showed a brief distortion, localized, controlled, precise. Then something appeared. Not landing, not descending. It was simply there. High above the desert, beyond normal airspace, a shape formed, not metallic, not organic. defined only by the absence of stars behind it. Telescopes locked onto it automatically. The image stabilized. Gasps filled the room. The object did not resemble any known craft. No engines, no weapons, no obvious structure. It existed like a question mark written into the sky. The watcher spoke again. "They have come to confirm." "Confirm what?" Hayes demanded. The answer was immediate. "That you survived yourselves." Missile systems across the region armed automatically. Not by human command, by protocol. World leaders were notified within seconds. Area 51 entered total blackout. Above the desert, the object did not move. It did not threaten. It waited. The watcher turned its attention fully to the humans now. "You are no longer observed from afar," it said. "You are being acknowledged." The analyst felt a deep chill. "This isn't first contact," he whispered. "No," Hayes agreed. "This is evaluation." The object above Area 51 pulsed once. Every human in the base felt it. Not fear, not pain. Recognition. Like standing in front of something that had already read your entire history. The watcher delivered its final statement of the night. "Do not respond with fear," it said. "That would be disappointing." Outside, the stars returned to normal. The object vanished. No explosion. No departure trail. Just absence. Area 51 remained silent. But the world had shifted. Something had moved first. And now humanity knew the truth. They were no longer hidden. They were no longer alone. And whatever was watching next was no longer patient. The world did not panic. That surprised everyone. No cities burned. No riots filled the streets. No missiles were launched into empty skies. Humanity paused. That pause mattered. That pause mattered. In the days after the object appeared above Area 51, governments met in silence. Satellites searched the stars again and again. Scientists replayed data until their eyes hurt. They found nothing new. No signals. No fleets. No follow-up. Only the watcher. Still beneath the desert. Still present. Still waiting. Colonel Hayes returned to Level 7. This time, the door did not open itself. It waited for him. Inside, the chamber felt larger than before, though nothing had changed. The watcher did not have a body the way humans understood bodies. It was a presence contained by boundaries it had never tried to cross. Hayes stood straight. "You said we reached a threshold," he said. "What is it?" The watcher responded without delay. "Self-awareness without collapse?" Hayes frowned. "That doesn't sound rare." "It is," the watcher replied. "Most intelligent species fail here." The watcher began to show images, not projections. Memories, worlds that discovered advanced energy too early. Civilizations that solved war before understanding restraint. Species that destroyed themselves quietly. These worlds were strong, the watcher said. They were intelligent. They were ambitious. The images faded. They did not survive themselves. Hayes felt a tightness in his chest. "And us?" he asked. The watcher paused. "You should not have survived." That was not said with judgment. It was said with fact. Earth appeared in the air. Storms, volcanoes, ice ages, impacts from space. Then human history layered on top. Wars, plagues, weapons that could end everything. Again and again. "You came close," the watcher said. "Many times." Hayes nodded slowly. "We know," the Watcher continued. Most species stabilize early, it said. They avoid extremes. They avoid collapse. Humans did the opposite. They lived in extremes. They adapted inside disaster. They learnt under pressure. You are not efficient, the Watcher said. You are resilient. That word echoed, resilient. The Watcher showed another image. Human creativity rising after catastrophe. Technology accelerating after failure. Cooperation forming in the shadow of extinction. You turn trauma into structure, it said. You turn fear into momentum. Hayes understood now. Earth was not watched because humans were weak. It was watched because they refused to stop. The Watcher revealed the final truth. Earth was classified as a limit-testing world. A place where evolution did not slow down. Where intelligence pushed itself to breaking points. Observers watched such worlds closely. Not to conquer them. To decide whether they should be allowed to continue. Hayes felt anger rise, so we were on trial. The Watcher answered calmly. You still are. Silence filled the chamber. What happens if we fail? Hayes asked. The Watcher did not answer directly. That decision would not be mine alone, it said. Hayes thought of the object in the sky. The other observers. They're not here to invade, he said. No, the Watcher replied. They are here to confirm. Confirm what? That humanity could face awareness without turning it into violence. That knowledge would not become a weapon. That power would not demand control. Days later, the Watcher allowed one final message to be shared with world leaders. Simple, clear, terrifying. You are dangerous, not because you destroy. You are dangerous because you endure. That message changed everything. Humanity was not feared for its strength. It was feared for what it became after breaking. The Watcher's final words to Hayes were quiet. They are watching how you respond to being seen. Outside, the world continued. People went to work. Children went to school. Children went to school. Life did not stop. And that, more than anything else, was being observed. Because the truth about humans was now clear. They did not need to be ruled. They did not need to be saved. They needed to be trusted. Or stopped. The world waited. After the truth came out, after leaders were told what Earth really was, after the Watcher revealed that humanity was still being evaluated, everyone expected the same thing. A response, a speech, a signal, a declaration to the stars. But none came. Missile systems were ready. Satellites were aligned. Communication arrays were prepared to broadcast humanity's voice farther than ever before. Yet no message was sent. Inside a secured chamber far from Area 51, representatives from across the world gathered. They argued quietly, carefully. Some wanted to speak. We must show strength, one leader said. If they're watching, they should know we're not afraid. Others disagreed. They're not testing power, another replied. They're testing judgment. Colonel Hayes sat silently at the end of the table. He had not spoken since returning from Level 7. Finally, he stood. They already know our weapons, he said. They've watched every war we've ever fought. The room went still. They know our fear, our anger. Our worst moments, Hayes continued. What they don't know is whether we can choose restraint. A general scoffed. Silence makes us look weak. Hayes shook his head. No, he said. Silence makes them wait. That idea lingered. The Watcher had not asked for a response. The other observers had not demanded one. They were watching what humans did when nothing forced them. Military advisors suggested a symbolic show an armed craft, lights in the sky, something harmless. Scientists suggested a mathematical message. Philosophers suggested art. None of it felt right. Anything sent would be shaped by fear of being judged. And fear was what the observers expected. Days passed. Nothing happened. No return to the sky. No new signals. No threats. Inside Area 51, the watcher remained silent. But it was still there. Colonel Hayes returned to level 7 one last time. "You said we're being evaluated?" he said quietly. "Is silence a failure?" The watcher answered without hesitation. "It is informative?" Hayes frowned. "Informative how?" "Most species attempt to define themselves," the watcher said. "You are allowing yourselves to be observed without performance." Hayes considered that. "So doing nothing matters." "Doing nothing by choice is rare," the watcher replied. Above Earth, the observers waited. Humanity continued its routine. People argued online. Cities struggled. Kindness and cruelty continued side by side. Nothing was hidden. No effort was made to appear perfect. That honesty was unexpected. World leaders met again. The decision was final. No message would be sent. No greeting. No warning. No challenge. Humanity would not announce itself. It would simply exist. If the observers wanted to understand humans, they would have to watch them, as they weren't as they pretended to be. That choice was not unanimous. But it was accepted. The missiles were stood down. The Eries powered off. The sky remained quiet. Then, on the 7th night, something changed. Not above Area 51, above the ocean. A brief distortion appeared on deep space sensors. Not an arrival. Not a departure. An acknowledgement. The watcher spoke one final time that night. "You did not ask to be seen," it said. "You did not demand recognition?" Hayes listened. "That restraint will be noted." The observers did not leave. But they did not advance. Humanity had passed nothing officially. No test was declared complete. Yet something fundamental had shifted. The galaxy now understood one thing clearly. Humans did not rush to speak when power was possible. They waited. And sometimes, waiting said more than any message ever could. Area 51 still exists because nothing ever truly ended there. Years passed. The world changed slowly, the way it always had. New technologies appeared. Old conflicts faded. New ones threatened to rise but never crossed certain lines. Above the planet, the sky remained normal. No fleets, no lights, no signs of return. Yet Area 51 stayed active. Expanded, even publicly, it remained what it had always been: a testing site, experimental aircraft, advanced sensors, harmless explanations. Privately, it served a different purpose. It was no longer a boundary. It was a reminder. Colonel Hayes retired quietly. He never spoke publicly about Project Watcher. No book, no interview, no leak. But before he left, he helped write one final protocol. It was short. Do not weaponize understanding. That protocol became doctrine. The Watcher remained beneath the desert knot, contained, not free, present by choice. It did not speak often anymore. It didn't need to. Humanity had learned the lesson it was meant to learn. Area 51 was never built to hide aliens from humans. It was built to hide humans from what they were not ready to become. Now, readiness had changed. The observers beyond Earth continued to watch, but differently. Not like judges, like witnesses. They had seen what happened when humans were given the chance to respond with fear. They had chosen restraint. They had seen what happened when humans were given power. They had chosen silence. That mattered more than any weapon. New generations grew up without knowing the truth. They saw Area 51 as a myth, a joke, a conspiracy, and that was perfect. Because the truth did not need belief, it needed distance. The Watcher's final recorded statement was added to a sealed archive, never meant to be opened unless humanity faced extinction again. It read, "Humans are not dangerous because they destroy. They are dangerous because they adapt without permission." That sentence shaped policy across the planet. Earth avoided becoming an empire, avoided declaring dominance, avoided drawing lines in the stars, not because it feared the Watchers, but because it understood itself. Years later, a young analyst at Area 51 noticed something unusual in deep space data. A pattern, familiar. He brought it to his supervisor. "It looks like observation," he said. "But not of us." The supervisor nodded. "They're watching something else now." "Why?" the analyst asked. The answer came easily. Because Earth passed, humanity had proven something rare. That intelligence could grow without demanding control. That survival did not require conquest. That power could exist without being shown. Area 51 still exists because someone, someday, might forget that. And forgetting would be dangerous. The Watcher remained silent. The observers remained distant. And Earth continued imperfect, conflicted, resilient. Still breaking, still healing, still adapting. The galaxy learned its final lesson quietly. You do not rush humanity. You do not threaten it lightly. And you do not reveal too much too soon. Because when humans are ready, they do not announce it. They simply continue. And that is why Area 51 still exists.